Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 4 replays for you in the Italian Tier 9 tank destroyer, the CC-1 Mark II, or the CC-1 Mark II. Now the CC-1 Mark II is the brand new Italian Tier 9 tank destroyer in the line, and so far as I've ground through it, which I've finished it now, I didn't really enjoy the grind, not going to lie. I really did not enjoy this tank. And that's because it feels a bit sluggish and slow. The gun, the top gun, it didn't feel like it liked me. It liked to miss a fair few shots. I just didn't enjoy the reload of that gun too much either. Really didn't enjoy the armor either. Because what I found is that the spot below the gun on the turret was only like 300 effective. And people just basically, oh no, unless you hold down. If you hold down, it was a little bit better. But basically people just, and especially since the fact you see tier 9 and 10 pretty much all the time, right? Well, you are a tier 9. But you're facing people with 310, 320, 330, 340 pen on their premium. And it tended to find out that people just penned you on under the gun quite easily with premium if you're on flat. And that was very annoying. And then, as well as that, the upper plate seemed to get butchered by the premium spam as well, which was a little bit annoying. And then the lower plate can get butchered and penned by even standard pen of like tier 7s, and overall the armor just felt a little bit underwhelming unless you were fully hull down and using the turret. But like I say, even then fully hull down using the turret, people seem to pen the underneath the gun and the little bars that stick out, even though they're not really modelled. They tend to pen that little area as well. And as I say, with the gun, it didn't feel that great for me. I did not enjoy the 127mm gun that this gets as the top gun, and yeah, I just basically didn't really have that much fun grinding through this tank. In fact, I think it went pretty awfully. I think I've got like 33 games or something and got about a 40% win rate. It really didn't go very well. Really didn't. I just did not vibe with this tank whatsoever. As opposed to the tier 10, which I've been playing. I played like 10, 15 games in it now. And the tier 10 is like a step up, obviously, naturally, because it's tier 10. But it's a world above, and it was actually quite fun to play. Whereas this, yeah, no, not for me. Not for me at all. I didn't enjoy this grind. But anyway, in terms of a crew on the CC Mark II, well, the CC-1 Mark II, I do run the same crew that I've run on the tier 7 and 8 as well, and that is I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanic, Clutch Braking, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Steady Aim. The 3 gun perks to make sure that this gun is as good as it humanly can be. Clutch braking to make sure that the track traverse can be better, because the track traverse on this thing it feels a little bit slow. And then stuff like trap mechanic to stop me getting tracked and people flanking me if they want to. And then in terms of equipment for this tank, with this stock gun that you're seeing here, and with the 120mm gun, I ran camo net, traction system, and optics, because I could make the camo really quite nice. I could knock it down to about 269, I think it was, which is pretty decent for keeping me unspotted at a decent distance. And then the traction systems will make me go at 33 kilometers an hour, because this tank only goes at 30 base speed. And optics to be able to spot for myself, because it does only have 390, or is it 380? It might even be 380 meters view range. It is, yeah. So I want to make it so that I can try and spot for myself if I can, pretty much. But then with the 127mm gun, I got really irritated with the gun handling. Like I say, the gun handling was very, very annoying. It liked to miss a fair few shots, and it just felt like an age for the gun to aim, because the aim time is like 2.7 or something like that with that top gun. So I ended up running a GLD instead of the camo net, just to make sure that the gun actually felt like it aimed in. I think I got it down to like 2.2 aim time or something like that with that piece of equipment, which was definitely a lot nicer, but made it a little bit more bearable. But yeah, you are seeing this stock gun in this game, and that is the 105mm gun, which has 220 pen and 242 on the premium pen with 320 alpha. And I really liked this gun because the aim time was 1.7 seconds, which is absolutely amazing. The inch-clip reload is only 4.5 seconds, and the clip you got in what, like 13 seconds? So in terms of the rate of fire in that, it felt great. I really enjoyed using this gun for the 5-6 games I used it for, and I felt like I could dish out the damage. The only thing is I felt a little bit underpowered compared to what was shooting at me, because a lot of the tanks shooting at me were doing 400, 500 alpha, and I was only doing 320, but I felt like I was always firing, I was always ready, and I was always on the go. And like I say, the gun handling actually felt like I hit the targets as well, which was really nice. The big problem with this gun on this 105 that you're seeing in this game is the fact that the penetration is low. 220 is not enough at tier 9. Or should I say, it's not enough unless you have, a premium pen that's good enough. And the premium pen on this is 242, which is definitely not good enough for the tier. So, because naturally it is the stock gun, so it's going to be, it's not the gun you're supposed to use in the end. It's the gun from the tier 8 and the tier 7 even? No, it's to get the gun from the tier 8. So, yeah, it's something to bear in mind that this gun does feel great to use, but it comes with that drawback of the penetration. But if you can make the good penetration work, maybe this gun actually might be for you if you do not enjoy the top gun. Although, like I said, the top gun does slap, which is quite nice. And the 120mm wasn't too bad either. I just, again, penetration issues. So, as you can see, so far in this game, using this 105, we managed to accrue 5.1k damage, and the armor's working pretty decent. We just bounced to 268 version 5. It's standard AP. We bounced that straight off of our turret front, which is nice because, again, the turret front is like 300 effective, so realistically, if he's not firing premium, he's going to still bounce off the turret front. And we managed to get a nice snapshot into that 705A over there, which was quite nice as well. This gun is really, really good because of that accuracy, because of that rate of fire. It's a 15-second full clip reload. And it's just, it made it feel quite nice to use. It's just a shame that we are very stock at this point, by the way, so we've got no turret or engine, I think. Well, I think we've got the stock everything pretty much. And you can see with the track traverse we were struggling to get to the MX-1390 there, who just planted himself on our side. But that's it, the gun handling actually felt really nice, and it felt usable. And as I say, the only downside is that penetration. You see him with the snapshots, essentially. We basically get snapped onto target, and it's like, oh, I'm ready to fire. Just like that, because you just see how quick it aims in. But we're looking for a shot into this 705A, and he is just currently staying behind that windmill, and he gets shut down. There's only one tank left on the enemy team. It is a VZ55, who is somewhere. I think he was last spotted about B1, so back in there, well, okay, it's not their spawn. It's actually in the corner, right, which is down the 2 line. And then their spawn was actually at J2. If it was normal standard battle spawns, he'd be where their spawn would be. So we're going to chase after him, but likelihood is, and yep, the AVRE deletes him, and the likelihood is that we're not going to get any more damage for that. And we do finish the game with a pretty damn nice total. We'll finish with the victory, 5.7k damage, 4.4k blocks, which is pretty damn good. The steel wall, the Confederate, and yeah, 1738 base XP. That's probably one of the better games I actually had. And that was just because the gun was nice, and I actually managed to, just keep firing and actually keep hitting the target. Because like I say, what I kept finding with the top gun was that it was like, yeah, I'm loaded, let's go. Miss, okay, dirt. And I've got I've got a shell left, and I'm stuck with the reload, and I felt like I was missing a lot, which meant that because it wasn't the quickest at firing, I was getting left behind a lot, and as well as that, because this tank is fairly slow. And you've seen this game here, we're actually fully upgraded, except for we've got the 120mm gun, which is the second gun that you unlock on this tank. And this has 400 alpha on its shells. You get 235 penetration on the standard AP pen, and 303 penetration on the heat rounds, which again, 235 is a little bit low, but 303 is great. You'll pen most things you're going to face with that. And instead of having that 105, which had a 1.7 second aim time, it had like 1,100 meters a second on the shell velocity, or nearly 1,400 on its premium. You switch this 120, and now you get 1,075 standard shell velocity on the AP with 902 on the premium. And your aim time goes from 1.7 to 2.5. And as well as this, your intraclip reload is 6.6 seconds as well, which is pretty decent. I mean, you consider it tier 9, a lot of the tanks that have 400 alpha aren't firing in that 6.6 seconds. A lot of the tier 10s are starting to rack up that sort of DPM with the shots. And with the standard clip reload being like, I think it was 20 seconds, something like that, it's not too bad, and I felt like I could consistently keep dishing out the damage. The only thing that let me down was having standard rounds in when I really could have done with the premium. The other issue with this gun, as well as you go from that 105 where you had 0.36 base accuracy to 0.42, and again with the 2.5 second aim time now, it really does start to feel derpy, which is again a little bit irritating when you start missing some of those shots. But I did feel like I could start consistently starting to deal the damage, which was, and I felt like I had a bit of punch. So when I was shooting at people and they were hitting me for like 400, 500, I was also hitting them for 400, which again it felt like a bit of a step up. But I really did prefer the standard gun. I just wish it had a little bit more penetration. But hey ho, that is the stock gun. It's not the one you are supposed to use. So as you can see, we are on Pilsen, and on Pilsen we are just boosting our reload. It's 21 seconds for this clip. We're boosting the reload as soon as we loaded, or went for the reload. And you can just see just how slow this tank traverses. It is pretty slow at traversing. And we're going to just whip round the corner and try and get up behind these heavies and TDs, so that we can try and take some of the pressure off of our guys that are on the corner at B5. The Waffle Panzer force boxes, and just as I come around the corner, it's like, hang on a minute, why are you facing this way, Mr. E100? What happened here? What caused this? So he's turned round, he's coming after me and the Progetto 65. We get a nice shot in to try and track him there. We are firing the standard, so we've got to be a bit careful that we don't shoot at a really awkward angle and bounce on this E100's lower plate. We do get another shot in that tracks and pens the E100, so we're going to go for the next one to try and track and pen him again, and unfortunately it bounces, or should I say it tracks him but does no damage. And we end up with the Progetto 65 getting shut down. I'm loading the standard round still. I probably should have loaded the premium to guarantee it, but I'm just going to rush towards this E100 to try and make it as difficult as a pen as possible for him. And we do manage to get the shell in and shut him down, but unfortunately we take a big hit from that E100 too. We're up to 2.2k damage with 1200 assistance. Artillery is looking at us currently. I'm like, nope, 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 not doing that. I don't want that, sir. No, it's not for me. The Super Conqueror managed to get a shot straight into our side, because that is one thing that that is another thing with this tank, is that if it's not, it's like the tier 7, well, it's like the Vipera, sorry, not the tier 7. It's like the Vipera in this way, that if you're not facing an enemy tank directly straight on or head on, the armor just becomes completely horrible. And that is the people just pen the side really easily, like the slightest of angles, and people will pen it. So it's something you've got to be very, very careful of. If you're going towards someone, just try not to angle. Just go straight head on in and hope that they don't hit the lower plate pretty much with this CC Mark II. So we know there's a tank in this corner. We know there's the 3 medium tanks that were down at K2. So we're just going to go chase after this Centauro. I do have 3 shells in, which I was tempted to reload because I thought I might be able to get the reload in before I get there, but I thought, you know what, no, screw it. We're just going to keep the 3 shells, and then we're going to dump them into the Centauro as we can. So we come over, we get a nice shot into the side of him, and we're not overextending, right? We're not overextending like we might do in any other autoloader, because we do have a longer intro clip. We're just being a bit more patient. I know that he might fire a little bit quicker than me. He actually has the auto reloader gun because he had shells. As you can see, he's got shells in the clip there. But he ends up just missing all those shots. And now there's only 3 tanks left on the enemy team. We're up to 3.5k damage with 1200 assistance. And we're just loading the next clip that I want to launch into the enemy team. There's a 430 version 2, an AVRE, and another medium tank somewhere. I think it's a Progetto 65 possibly, knocking about. We're going to try and get to this AVRE, but this is where this tank sort of starts to get left behind a bit. The Minotauro has the same problem really, and that is that, and the same as the tier 7 actually, is that we're just that little bit slow. And obviously with a 30 km/h top speed, this and the Minotauro are the 2 slowest in the line, and when games go a little bit quickly, you can be left behind quite easily if you don't manage to keep yourself in the right place to keep up with the front line pretty much. Whereas a lot of tanks might be able to recover that with their mobility, this tank just can't. 33 km/h is slow. I mean, if you really wanted to and you could put up with the gun handling, you could drop the GLD and put a powertrain on, and doing that would probably get you up to 34 km/h, I want to say, because it'd give you an extra 1.5 km/h, so it'd probably knock you up to 34.5 km/h, but you'd only really see 34, which I don't feel, because of just the gun handling, I don't feel like you'd want to give up that help with your gun handling to just gain 1 km/h. feel worth it. With the traction system, at least you're gaining 3 kilometers an hour, which is not much. Like, you don't, between the 30 and the 33, it still doesn't feel like, yes, I'm going so much faster, right? It just feels a little bit nicer, but the main thing that goes with the traction system is the fact that you do get that slightly better track traverse, which can be decent. So as you can see, we've managed to catch this Projector 65 out. We got one shot into his side. The second one just went low and did track damage only. And then the destructible cover took the final shell. And now I'm just going to reload because there's no point holding on to 2 or 1 shell. May as well reload because we will be ready to go again by the time we find this projector again. Because if I was him, he'd probably end up going to one of these ridge lines in front of us over here, going hull down, and then trying to spank out the rounds as he can. And probably heat rounds as well, which means he'd probably go through our armour quite easily. So we do have to be careful at that, but we're going to try and move ourselves into a position to cut him off if he is going across the 9 line. Because you have to preempt the enemy move, right? Because he could go, well, there we go, we found him. He could have gone straight down the 0 line and then gone down the K line, but he could have also gone back round and then down the A line if he wanted to. But we had to try and guess where he was going. We do manage to get a nice shot into his side, and it's always best to try and preempt where they're going. So my thought was he might run down the K line, so I was running towards the K line to try and catch him out. But thankfully we managed to spot him, get a nice shot into him, finish the game with 4.2k damage, 1200 assistance, the first class, 1709 base XP. A really nice game for the CC Mark 2 with the 120mm gun that you get as the second gun you unlock. And now we've got 2 replays in the tank with the top 127mm gun. Now this 127mm gun has 250 pen on its AP rounds, 325 pen on its heat rounds, so penetration, fabulous. You're just going to pen because you got to think about it, it's not great for TD standards, but this is more like a heavy tank. The way it seems to be balanced in terms of its stats is more like it's a heavy tank as opposed to a tank destroyer. So 250 pen on its standard AP rounds is pretty decent for a tier 9. And 325 pen on the heat rounds is fabulous. You're going to pen most things you're going to face with that, which is great. And now this was where the gun starts to become even derpier, because you get 0.42 accuracy on the standard. Well, you get 0.42 accuracy, just like the 120mm gun. But your aim time is now 2.7 seconds, where, again, it just starts to feel a bit like, ugh, right? When you're aiming in the shells, it feels a bit more, ugh, all right, sure. And with the GLD, like I say, you do get that aim time down to, so that's what you're seeing, 2.19 seconds, which is what you're seeing here. And it's a hell of a lot nicer with a GLD. Trust me, if you don't put a GLD on it, this aim time feels just so grim. So grim. And it does, you know, make it just that little bit better, for sure. But yeah, the aim time is not nice, so you want to try and make it better. The shell velocity on the standard round is 1252, which is actually better than the 120mm, and it's a pretty nice number. And that does help you a little bit at firing at distance, as long as the accuracy of 0.42 actually holds up. Or should I say, doesn't hold you up. And you get an 8-second intra-clip reload on this gun. So this 127mm gun for 490 alpha is firing every 8 seconds with like a 20-second cooldown in the clip, essentially. So once again, 8 seconds for 490 at this tier is actually pretty quick for 490 alpha. But obviously you've got to think like, oh, I do have a break in play that I've got 20 seconds where I have to wait for this clip to load in. So it's something to always bear in mind. But a lot of the tanks that have 490 alpha at tier 9 are all firing in 11, 12, 13 seconds. Back end of 10 seconds up to like 13 and 14 seconds, essentially, for 490 alpha. So as you're loaded, you are firing quicker than those tanks that have that higher alpha. In fact, you're firing about the same as a fair few of the 400 alpha tanks, or a second slower than them. But you've got 90 more alpha, which is quite nice. But like I say, the gun handling does like to troll a lot, which is what annoyed me, as well as the fact that what annoyed me about this tank a lot was the fact that it felt like I wasn't that mobile, so I struggled to keep up with the battle a lot. And then the gun liked to derp its shots, so I missed a fair few shots, which meant when the game was flying past us, I just couldn't keep up with what was going off. And I was missing vital shots, which was annoying. And then when I was getting pressured, unless I was fully hulled down, the armour just was not holding up for me. And I just felt like I could have done what I was doing in this tank in quite a few other tanks, which was just a little bit irritating. So as you can see, we have pushed this tortoise, and that shell misses. Sad times. We missed the shell on that tortoise. The 780 drove around and shot us in the side. We're just preparing for this 780 to drive round in case he does. We spot the tortoise is driving to try and get shot at us, though we do manage to bounce the tortoise, and that 780 is preoccupied with our friends. So we're just going to drive around, aim for the cupola on this guy. Now we're close in. Thankfully, the shot managed to pen that guy's cupola. The other thing I've noticed, by the way, is this thing has 490 alpha. And overall, I feel like, I mean, it could be just I'm annoyed at the tank and I'm just noticing the bad things, right? But I feel like I chronically low roll with this gun. I've got 490 alpha, but I feel like I always pen for like 450, 460, 470. Occasionally see a 500 roll, but for the most part, it's usually below 490. Maybe tinfoil hat, but I don't know. That's just what it feels like for me. Is like I end up low rolling a fair amount, which can be, again, another frustrating point. Probably don't. I probably get my fair share of the rolls because tinfoil hat and annoyance go together. Or frustration, sorry. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I chronically low roll a lot as well. And you might see it in these games, you might not. You might actually see that I end up high rolling a lot and go, well, you know, you're just a high roll. CCRNG, you're high rolling all the time. But yeah, whatever. So as you can see, we're aiming up onto this Progetto 65. 456. Low roll. Yeah, so we end up hitting the Progetto 65, and just as we finally get the shell in, the Progetto dies. And we don't get the kill on that Progetto, unfortunately. Then the 65T gets shut down by the E5 before we're loaded, and we're just looking for the final shells into this Barracuda, and wherever this tank destroyer is somewhere knocking about, but I'm trying to race there to get some shots into this Barracuda before the E5 chases him off. And I'm like, please Barracuda, come back, I'm trying to get there to shoot him. But the E5 ends up shooting him in the front, which puts him down to a one shot. He's probably not going to get it. Then there's the Storm Tiger, but it's like, oh god, there he is. And thankfully, we managed to hit that shot, which kills him and finishes off the game. And that was probably one of the more average games, if not just above average games of what I've had in this tank, to be honest. 3.8k damage with 341 assistance. The Steel Wall, the first class, and 1578 base XP. Pretty decent game for the Contracarro 1 Mark II. I'd say that's probably... It's probably actually above average for what I've been doing in this time. I've been doing terribly with it. It's just I haven't enjoyed it, which then aids itself to not doing very well in it, because I'm not enjoying it, not playing very well. I don't make the best plays, etc., etc. But I just haven't enjoyed this tank. It's just one of those ones that I feel like with this line so far, I loved the tier 5. The tier 5 I thought was amazing. The DPM, the gun handling, everything about that tank was lovely. I really enjoyed it. The tier 6, again, absolutely fantastic. It's a Derp Lord. It's got an amazing Derp gun. Loved playing that one. And, you know, you got really good gun choices. The 90mm was nice. The only thing about that tank with the 90mm was the premium penetration probably wasn't quite up to snuff for when you were facing tier 8s. But it was good enough. You could at least do something. And the 102mm gun was pretty damn nice as well. So on the whole, the Basotto was really fun. The tier 7, did not enjoy the tier 7 really at all. I just felt like it was exceptionally underwhelming. The gun handling wasn't great. The armor wasn't great. The mobility was a bit lackluster. Overall, it was very lackluster. The tier 8, I actually really enjoyed it because the mobility was nice. The gun handling was good. The DPM felt pretty decent. And on the whole, it just felt like an enjoyable tank to play. I got hull down. I could bounce things when I was hull down. And, yeah, the hull armor wasn't the best, but, you know, I could make most of the turret armor and the mobility to get to places to be hull down. Then we get to this tank, and I haven't enjoyed it. Honestly, I haven't enjoyed it, and that is because it takes a while to get to the position where you can use your armor, which is effectively only great when you are hull down. And then the gun, like I say, liked to derp also, which could be very, very frustrating. You had to have the time to be able to get this gun fully aimed in. And a lot of the time, you don't get the chance to fully aim the shots that you're going to take in this game because people rush your shots or they'll make it so that it's as difficult as possible. And with a slower turret traverse and a limited turret arc, makes it frustrating because as soon as you turn the tracks, your gun blooms out massively again and you have to begin that re-aiming process, which takes a while. So I just haven't, on the whole, enjoyed this tank. And the tier 10, well, you'll see the tier 10 video tomorrow. after this video comes out. And tier 10 so far, I've pretty much I've enjoyed it. Similar mobility, but like sort of the traverses feel a little bit better. But the gun handling is definitely a lot nicer, and on the whole, the armor is a hell of a lot nicer as well. I feel like a bit more like a juggernaut. Still has some of the downsides, like obviously the slightly slower track traverse and the limited turret, etc. But it was definitely enjoyable. So the line's been one of those so far, where it's had a few tanks where I've gone, yeah, I love this, and then a few tanks where I don't like it. But I suppose that's lines in general. There are some lines where every tank you play is like, this is great, and then there's some lines where it's mixed bag, right? And this is one of those that I just, yeah, you really have to feel like you've got time in a game. Like this game you're seeing here is the perfect example of this, where we're top tier. Most things will struggle to pen our turret front and our upper plate, but they'll butcher the lower plate. And we are getting the perfect amount of time to be able to get full reloads in, get this inch-clip reload in, and then have a good time. So as you can see there, we unfortunately drive around onto the side of the Kampfpanzer 50T, and I was trying to track and pen that guy, and unfortunately, I did neither. I just hit him, and yeah, didn't do anything. I think the shot went really low, and we ended up missing. Looking for the shot now on the CC-Mark2, and unfortunately, the shot towards his lower plate ends up hitting his tracks instead, and we're just going to pull back. We end up bouncing a fair amount of stuff from the back there, and I think it's like a Carnarvon Action 10 or something else, which means they're going to struggle to pen us. And we are constantly being bombarded by artillery at this point, and the artillery is the jumbo bird. So he's not really going to do too much to my front unless he actually pens me. I decided, you know what, I'm going to take a blind shot at the back because someone was shooting me from back there. We're going to see if we could try and hit it, and unfortunately, it just didn't go to plan. And you can see I'm just looking. I'm trying to bait shell tracers, but it's not happening. We try and get a shot through the cupola there of the Type 4 Heavy, and I decide, okay, Type 4 Heavy, I'm reloading the heat. I did load heat, I think, a heat clip a minute ago, and that was for the Type 4 Heavy, because it looked like Type 4 Heavy was coming for us, but he ended up turning away and going somewhere else. But now we're loading the heat again, because Type 4 Heavy with 250 pen, we can pen it in a couple of places, but for the most part, we're probably going to bounce. As soon as we load premium, though, that guy's armor means absolutely jack diddly squat. So we got the heat in, and 325 heat pen will not have any issues whatsoever with that bloke. And we shut down the big Japanese TD? The big Japanese heavy tank in that one. Now we've got 2 shells left in this clip. The Kampfpanzer 50T is a one-shot. It's like, hello, sir. Thank you, gun. I don't know what we hit. I think we must have hit his gun right, but unfortunately we ended up bouncing, and then he just snaps the shot straight into our armor, no problem whatsoever, and ends up putting us down to what could be a one-shot for a few of their tanks. Like I think they've got a Charioteer. The 400 Alpha tanks, we could be within range of being one-shot by them, which is awkward. We get detected and spotted, and I'm thinking, okay, there's something down there. And there we go. It's a Charioteer that gets spotted as he fires. So we're going to put a big shot into him. 474. Okay, 1 low roll. Can we get a high roll against this Charioteer? That would be lovely. 449. Okay, and we've got 1 more shell in to shut him down, hopefully. And he was very, very friendly about this Charioteer, by just sitting there and letting me shoot him. Lovely of that guy to let me kill him. He must have took pity on me and my grind, right? And we managed to shut down the Charioteer. We ended up getting detected again as I was turning, which made me go, oh god, there's something else back there. And it's a T-54E2. First time spotted back there. This the unskinned Sergeant Slaughter. And I was just looking for the shot, but he unfortunately gets back behind that rock. And I'm just going to sit here and wait, because, again, I don't really have the hit points to do anything, and he could clip me out potentially if he gets the shot. So we're just staying here waiting for the potential ability to shoot this T-54E2 in the side if we can. But he's not exposing himself. I was thinking with 2 tanks pushing him, I thought he might get spotted and then run away from them. But it just doesn't happen. So I decided, okay, you know what, I'm just wasting time sitting here looking at this T-54E2, and there's a tank in the middle of the E-75, so let's see if we can shoot this E-75 in the side. And it's like, this is perfect. And just as we drive around, there's a tortoise. Okay, I high roll 581. There we go. We got one. We got one. Now we've got the shot into the side of the E-75. Yeah, that's just poor aim. I can't blame the gun on that one. That was just bad aim from me. He ended up bamboozling me. We end up bouncing off his upper plate, but I think, okay, let's slap the shot into him there. And another high roll, okay, maybe not. 504 on that E-75. Okay, we're high rolling, we're a high roller. And yeah, the T-54 ended up getting shut down. The Baltic managed to shut down the E-75, and we finished it with a victory. 4 kills, 6.2k damage, 407 assistance, 3.1k blocks, not too bad. The Steel Wall, the High Caliber, 1896 base XP. Pretty damn nice game for the Contra 1 Mark II. And again, it's just, I didn't enjoy playing this tank. I just felt like there was a lot that let it down. I think I most enjoyed it with the stock gun, which probably says a lot for this gun, that it just frustrated me a little bit. But on the whole, it's not a bad tank, but I just didn't enjoy playing it. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!